Well, good morning, everybody. I see there's a bunch of people here for the launch of the Laser Maker's Realm. And this is our very first live stream of 2023. We're going to be doing these live streams every 2 weeks if they're popular, if people like them. If you're showing up and asking questions, that's what the idea of this is. We're going to be doing a Q&A. It could be a light burn Q&A. It can be a file Q&A. And basically what we're going to be doing is myself, Patrick, and Steve down there. We're going to be offering you free files. And I think the key difference between our channels and this channel is going to be, this is going to be no BS. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to say, look, here's a project that we designed or that we purchased with commercial rights, or that someone else designed and gave to us, which I've already got the first one, a phone stand that came from one of my viewers for the channel. And what we're going to do is say, here's the file. This is what it looks like when it's finished. Here's me doing it real quick. And this is what I did to do it. And this is burning it. And here it is. You can have it for free. So that is the purpose of this channel, is pretty much to push out a lot of content where, it's not just one of us or each of us doing it individually, but all three of us doing it together in a place where there's, I guess you might say, no time wasted, is probably the best way to put it. So you get to see the file, you get to see us make it, and you get to download it for free. And I don't think there's any other channel on YouTube that does something like this for their viewers. So the first thing I wanted to ask real quickly is, now you're watching this on my channel, and that's only because this is a brand new channel and we haven't gotten monetized yet. So that is our goal right now, is to put out as much content as possible so that you guys like, subscribe, and ring that and hit that bell notification. And, those of you that watch my channel know that you'll never hear me say that. I don't put that in your face like every other channel out there in the first 5 seconds. Like, subscribe, I don't do that. But it's important in this channel that we do that right now, because we need to get to that 4,000 hour watch hour point. So I'm hoping that we've already put some content up in the month of December. We said that the official launch was going to be January 1st, and we wanted to get a little content up first so that you can get an idea of what it is that we're doing. And now here's our very first live stream. And if y'all like it, we're going to be back every 2 weeks with another live stream to answer any questions you might have on any of the projects that we've already done. So with that said, good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Steve. How are you doing today? Welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome to the stream.
Doing
Steve,
extremely
you got something to say. Good morning.
I'm having a real hard time with about a 30-second delay. Is anybody else having that on ours? The audio's
No.
All good here.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. So Jerry is saying that he just shared it on his social media. Let me get back to that one.
Oh, sorry. Let me hide that.
All right. So Jerry's saying that Jerry's from 3D HP. He's got a 3D printing channel, and he's saying that he shared it on all of his socials. Thank you, Jerry. He's in Las Vegas. If you have any 3D printing questions, he does a live at, I think, 3 p.m. on every Saturday with a bunch of different people. So I hang out there sometimes myself. So let's get into I see there's a bunch of people here already, which kind of surprises us. So let me get up to the top. Holy cow, there's a whole bunch of questions here. Good morning, Patrick, by the way.
And good morning.
All right. Happy New Year, says Merrill. Yeah. Thank you, Merrill. Happy New Year to you and everybody that's out there. I hope you all had a great holiday this year. And hi to Chicago Bob. Good morning. Let's see. Do we have any questions to start off with? Let's see. Tim. Hi, Tim. Good morning. Giovanni from Italy. Thank you for staying up late, Giovanni. Good morning from Washington. Let's see. Canada. We got a bunch of people here. Oh, look. Hey, Steve. There's
I'm here.
somebody that's familiar right there. I think Steve is lagging behind. Patrick, are you hearing me?
I am hearing you just fine.
Okay, so I think Steve may have a little problem with his stream over there. Let's see. Savannah, Georgia, Pennsylvania. Stumbling, bumbling idiot. I always love it when I see that handle on my comments on YouTube.
Ireland, Canada, Philadelphia, Georgia, Mississippi,
Charlotte, Dallas, Long Island, New York, my hometown. Vincent DeLeo. Good morning, Vincent. I'm from Hop Hog, actually. I'm sure you know where that is. Chicago, Ohio, Dallas. Jack in the shop. I love your videos, Jack.
Army Dogs is up early in California. And Rob.
Let's see. Sawdust Factory, Laser Show, Arizona. Gilbert, Arizona. Dallastown, PA. Oh, we got some conversations going on in there. Joliet, Illinois. And it looks like Steve dropped out. He'll be back in a minute. If you guys haven't seen some of Steve's projects, they're really cool. He's got a purse that I don't know if he's put that one up yet on the channel. All right, let me scroll down here.
I think I found the first question.
All right. Here it is.
Is it that one?
Yep. Just started laser engraving, and the biggest challenge I have is air extraction. Trying to figure out how to handle it that won't cost me loads of dollars. Okay, so I think probably the easiest way, if you don't want it to cost you a whole lot of money, you can buy, it's ComGrow has got an enclosure. Now, it depends on what size laser that you have. But if you have the typical size 400 by 400, something like that, ComGrow has a really cheap, I think it's $39 enclosure that'll fit over that. And you can actually put one of those high-powered computer fans on the inside of it. And all you need is a drive hose that either goes out your back door or out a window. So the cheapest way to do it, you can take and cut down a piece of wood and cut a hole in it where you put an adapter on to vent it out a window. Or you can, if you're in the garage, you can open your garage door, put it underneath the door, or just hang it out the window, any way you go. That would be the cheapest way to do it. You'd probably be looking at somewhere in the area of $39 for the enclosure and maybe $10 for the hose. That's $49. And if you actually purchased it, it's probably about $20 for the actual air conditioning spacer for your window that has the vent already pre-made in there, and you can just plug the hose right onto it. So that would probably be the cheapest way to do it. And then, there are all types of enclosures that are out there. I happen to like these cloth ones, or I don't know what you call. What do you call those guys? Not cloth, but they're sort of like rubber.
The fire retardant.
Yeah, the fire retardant ones. I happen to like those because most people think that an enclosure should be sealed. There you go. Steve's showing you that one there. And that one's $39. just like you see it. A lot of people like the sealed ones. They think that an enclosure should be sealed, and that's not true, because no air in, no air out. I mean, that's pretty much the rule. So it has to have a place for air. And when I used that fireproof one from Comgrow, I actually had to set it up on a couple of pieces of wood so that it had more air coming in, because my exhaust fan was too powerful. It was sucking in the sides. So yeah, so you don't need to have a sealed unit. Let's move on now. My 3D Prusa printer is running a project as we speak. Awesome, Merrill. That's great. Now, I am going to, on my channel, I am going to have a 3D printer, I guess, review coming up soon. I've got one that I'm going to put together and review. I'm going to donate it to a local scholar, homeschool scholar in my neighborhood, and he's going to help me put it together, and we're going to test it out. And so that is something new and different that's coming up on my channel.
See, I have one 3D printer unboxing and assembly video on my channel, but I hope to get some more 3D printing stuff up there too.
Yeah. And if you're into 3D printing stuff, 3D HP, search that on YouTube, 3D HP. That's my friend Jerry in Las Vegas. And not only does he have a bunch of really good, fun videos, but he also has that live stream every Saturday at, I think it's 3:00 Mountain Time. Is that Vegas Mountain Time? Whatever that is. All right, let's see. Hampton, Georgia, Mississippi, new laser engraver. Oh, okay. So I wanted to today talk about the new laser engraver owner, and I've got a video that's going to be coming out in February that's on the schedule about on my channel about the new laser engraver owner. And I'm going to take you from start to finish on that, because so many people have so many questions about how do I even get started? You know, oh yeah, I can follow the directions and put together the laser engraver, but where do I go from there? You know, how do I connect Lightburn to it? I'm having problems with the connection in Lightburn. You know, what are some of the, I'm going to talk about some of the typical problems, the driver, how to connect, different ways to connect, how to find your baseline settings, how to get started, how to focus, all that kind of stuff. So that look for that in February. And that is has probably been my most frequently asked question recently has been, you know, how do I get my baseline settings so that I can burn something on a new material? And that's something that we all have to do. And I'm sure the guys here are going to agree with me when I tell you that it doesn't matter what you're using. You have to have those baseline settings. You have to run a test pattern on whatever it is that you're using.
Test.
There you go. You see Steve's got one right there. And I can tell you that sometimes you even have to run that test pattern again on the same piece of wood. You know, a piece of wood today and a piece of wood a week from today are two different pieces of wood. It's going to be two different humidities. There's going to be two different temperatures. There's going to be two different moisture content in the wood. So they're going to be completely different pieces of wood. So running those tests before you get started and sacrificing a small piece of material will keep you from sacrificing a large piece of material and an entire job and starting all over again, and maybe even have to then do your material test.
Yeah,
So,
and something else that I do, Rich, is when I do my test, I actually put a label on the bottom of it.
yes.
And I keep those libraries right here on my desk. I've got them no matter, you know. And like you say, though, a new batch of material comes in, a new test to go on that batch just to check the difference in the woods.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's important. You know, you really do have to keep up with the you have to keep up with the testing. And that piece of wood that Steve has now may be good for a while. It may last him a year. It may last him 6 months. It may last him a week and be outdated. So again, it all depends on the environment, and I think that's probably the biggest question that we get. So let's scroll through the comments here, see what we got. There's something for you, Steve. That's from my friend Jerry.
And I'm what is the I'm
He's asking, are
yeah.
you watching in StreamYard only?
Yeah, and that was my issue. I actually had that other window open for the comments, even though there was no video. It was playing in the background. So yes, Steve, you were right.
Right.
I had to log out everything, come back to StreamYard only.
Yep. All right. So let's see. And what I was saying earlier is you got a neighbor in the stream here.
Yeah, actually, I've seen a few Gaston County rednecks in here.
Okay, so here we go. Question: just started laser engraving, and the biggest challenge I have is air extraction. Oh, we already did this one. How did I go backwards here? All right, let's keep moving down. Chicago Bob, my main question, really more of a statement, is I'm hoping this doesn't mean less content on. No, absolutely not. This is not going to be less content on our other channels. This is something that's in addition to our other channels. So Patrick is going to still be doing his fiber videos. Steve is still going to be doing his design videos, and my channel is mostly light burn tutorials. So that's not going to stop. This is just something that's in addition to our channels that we thought, the three of us friends, thought would be a great addition to YouTube. So yeah, that has nothing to do with our other channels.
In fact, the way I'm trying to do mine is I will be doing the design and a slight tutorial about how to do those projects. And then if you're much more advanced, because I'm only been doing this for a few months, and if you know as much or more than I do about laserology, you don't need to see my how-tos. All you want is to file. That's what the Laser Makers Room is for.
Exactly.
But for those that don't know how to do the resizing of slots and tabs and all the different features, I'll have a breakdown of how to do that file on my channel in probably 2 or 3 different videos. But then the Laser Maker Realm will be a 10 or 15 minute video with boom, here's a project, here's a file. Thank you.
Right. And if you guys haven't been over to Steve's channel, Hobo with Wood, Steve, you wouldn't believe that he just started doing this. How long ago? 3 months ago?
Father's Day weekend.
Father's Day weekend.
Yep.
Okay. You just wouldn't believe it because he just has a wealth of knowledge. So his channel is a lot like mine, where he teaches you step by step in Lightburn. So it's definitely worth a subscribe to go over there and subscribe to his channel. And we each teach different ways of doing things. So it would be a big benefit, for you to learn both different ways.
Yeah, there's no one way. There's no wrong way,
Yeah. There's 5 ways to do everything. There, a lot of people ask, like questions. Why do you do, like, for instance, why don't you do the math up in the actual measurement area in the box itself? Why do you use a calculator? Well, because there's 5 different ways to do it. And I'm going to do it all 5 different ways over time. So, if you're watching my videos, you'll get to see all those different ways that I do it. So, Merrill is asking, Happy New Year, Merrill. Thank you for all of your comments and the way you participate in my channel. I appreciate that. Merrill is still debating about a 10, 20, or now even the 35 watt, which I do have coming supposedly in about 7 or 8 more days from Acer, and X Tool is sending me their new 40 watt. Not a fan of the X Tool, but we'll see if there's been any new changes. So she's debating between 10 and 20 watt diode laser, and now with the 35 watt coming out, what to do. And I always say the same thing. I love all of my lasers. I can do with my 5.5 watt laser what everybody else can do with a 20 watt laser. Something's actually nicer. It just depends. It's just a time saver to have more power. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I always equate it to the scalpel and the machete. That small laser is going to give you much more finer, detailed work. But if you want to hack through something, then you need more power.
Right.
And are you doing projects like this past Christmas season? I was doing a project, and I did an array of 5 different cutouts. And when I was all said and done, it was only going to make 5 of these trees, and it took me 5 hours. It was an hour per tree. But once I did that same array on the CO2, I was able to do it in 45 minutes.
Right.
So it's a matter of what am I doing? What am I trying to accomplish? With my inlays, I prefer the diode over the CO2. But if I'm doing a lot of cutting, I want that CO2. I want more power. I don't want to be waiting on that laser to cut. So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
I haven't checked the specs on the new ones that are coming out, the 35 and 40 watts with the multiple diodes.
The 35 is actually 36. And
do they have the same dot size as a 5 watt?
They haven't sent me the specs yet. And no, the dot size is not going to be the same because you're collimating so many diodes.
That's what I imagined. So you'd lose detail versus a 5 watt.
Yeah, I can tell you that my half watt, which is hanging right there. Where is that? Right? See that right there? That cantilever laser?
Yep.
That is the original Ortur half watt cantilever diode laser. Before they were Ortur, they were Dongguang something manufacturing. Right before they launched the Ortur company. I bought that, I think it was like $69 or something like that, to get into diodes. I had a CO2 and I wanted to find out what the hype was about diodes. That is 1/2 of a watt. That does the finest engravings out of any laser that I have, because the dot size on it is 0.04 by 0.04. So I don't think there's any finer dot size on the market than that half watt that's hanging up back there. And the tiny little details, you would think that it's a fiber laser. That's how small the dot is on that laser. So, the smaller the diode, the finer the engraving is going to be. And, a lot of people think bigger is better, but it's not necessarily. I don't see any reason why you have to, keep up with the Joneses and have the biggest and baddest out there. Doesn't quite make sense to me, because you can achieve the same results with any laser.
It's just about time.
Yeah. So this is a great question. Is it true that if you use 100% power, it burns the laser out faster?
Diode or CO2?
Well, okay, so that's we're going to cover both. So on the CO2, absolutely, it's absolutely true. You should never. My rule of thumb is never use more than 70% of the available power. So if you have a 100-watt laser, you should never go more than 70 watts. And the way that because the CO2 is a much greater consumable than a diode is, and they're rated in milliamps. They're not rated in power in watts. I mean, they are rated in watts, but that's the max power. So if you want to burn up all of your CO2 in a matter of 90 days, run it at 100% on the CO2. If you follow the manufacturer's milliamp rating and you only run, say, 21, 22, so all the tubes are different, you'll know that you'll be at about 70% of the power, and it'll last years, 5,000 hours. On the diode lasers, and this question I think comes up more on the diode lasers. On the diode lasers, I'm going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say that is, excuse me, the manufacturers are telling you that they have a 10,000 hour rating at 80% power. So I don't know how they come to that. I think they do like a week-long test. I know NAJ, I've actually seen photographs with talks with the engineers that have sent me photographs of their burn-in labs where they do their testing. And they have like 150 of these on a wall in a rack with all separate power supplies running to them. And they run them at 80% power. And I think I never did get a straight answer as to for how long. I'm going to guess that maybe they'll do that for 24, 48 hours, maybe a week, and then run some math to figure out, how much power it lost running, and I think they run them for like an hour. I think it switches on and off, an hour on, half hour off, something like that. But it's like pulling teeth trying to get this question answered. And I don't think anyone will ever get an honest answer about anything when we're talking about Chinese manufacturers. So they will fudge on everything. And I just don't think that question will ever be answered. But I do know that some people have done tests on them. And there is a very slow curve on the diodes. I can tell you I have 3 of the original Laser Master from Ortur, the 5.5 watt machines that have literally thousands of hours on them. And, maybe once or twice I've adjusted the speed and power on those 3. And those were actually doing production work for quite a while. So no recognizable, decrease in the power running those jobs in production work. So I don't think that on the diode that you have to worry about it. I think you can run 100%. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm only 6 months in, and my first laser, I think I actually had a defective module right out of the gate. So I have limited experience, but my first experience was bad. But it wasn't because of using too much power; it's just issues with the
Cleaning. With the
air
air assist.
Air assist, thank you.
Yeah.
Brain shut off. It'll do that once in a while.
Yeah. Well, the X tool doesn't have a great air assist. It doesn't force the air at the right angle, and there's a leak at the top that they've never fixed. So that's a completely different issue, and it causes this venturi that sucks the dirt and debris up into the lens. And people are replacing lenses like water. So that's a completely separate issue, from the actual diode degradation. So I don't think that
I wouldn't worry about diodes or fibers at 100%.
Yeah, the fiber I don't even think about. that you're looking at what, 10 years on that. I mean, something else is going to go before the power goes.
Yep.
Let's see. Cheeks, howdy in the Philippines. I thought you were coming home to Alabama for vacation. Cheeks, I was planning on having lunch. Shading according to power is, I believe, for grayscale images. Yeah. Well, the grayscale automatically shades according to power. So that's why on that, when you burn that color wheel, that's your grayscale shading, and you'll get that shading in any of the image modes.
Was he talking about the preview window in Lightburn?
No, you
the
don't
actual
really
engraving?
see the shading much in the preview window. All right, let's see. Baltimore, sunny today. Well, let me see. I'm still freezing down here in Louisiana. It is well, it's 64 degrees now, but it was 60 this morning. So that I had to get the sweater on to come out to the shop. Nelson from Honduras. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Nelson. Okay, so Steve is asking, what are either of your feelings about the X-Tool D1 Pro? We'll give that one to Steve.
Really? There are so many things that are missing, and this is my opinion and from my experiences from the X-Tool, that some of the more basic lasers out there have on there for a whole lot less money. That, knowing what I know now, if I haven't purchased the X-Tool, I would not purchase an X-Tool. Limit switches, that's a huge thing. Their air assist is absolutely horrible. In 4 months, I went through 4 cracked lenses. The first one was my fault because I didn't know that I was supposed to be taking this thing apart daily, or in my case, it needed to be daily because of how poor of a clean evacuation, or the fact that I was getting that Venturi effect so bad with my air assist that my lens was getting so dirty, it was cracking the lens within 8 to 10 hours of use. So
well, he's his question was on the D1 Pro.
oh, now that I don't have.
Yeah.
So me, I don't know about the D1 Pro.
I don't think any of us have the Pro version.
But
do you have one, Patrick?
No, I do not.
No, none of us have the Pro version, but I know they've done a lot of improvements to it. I have a 40 watt that's on the way, which I guess is going to be a D1 Pro. So I'll probably know in the next month or so. But the biggest drawback on the X-Tool is the way that the company started trying to copy the Glowforge mentality with the proprietary software, and they've never let that go completely. So they've adapted somewhat to the demand from the people as far as making it light burn compatible, but some of their control board features are just not available, and that, in my opinion, makes it a no-go for me. If you can't get all of the features out of Lightburn because of a control board, why are you keeping it proprietary? It makes no sense. So, plus there have been a rash of problems, so that are just not getting resolved. So, and now lately I've heard the same thing about Longer. A lot of people that had problems with the Ray 5 can't get them resolved. And, I hear that about lots of different companies. So it just depends on, some people say how great the support is and others say how terrible it is. I can tell you that I actually just recently shut down my calendar for remote support. 90% of the requests that I were getting and the bookings that I was getting. Thank you, Gary, for that support. Appreciate that. 90% of those support requests were for X-Tools, and 90% of those got diagnosed as hardware issues. So they have been having a hardware issue problem for some time now, and that calendar website just took up too much of my time, so I actually had to shut it down temporarily until I catch up with my other work, because it was just taking way too much time for me. So I would say that I'll let you know next month, because I'm guessing that the thank you, Cheeks, appreciate that. I'm guessing that the this new version may have a new control software. I don't know.
Yep. Cheeks was talking about that shade according to power in the preview.
He was okay. What does shade according to power do in the light burn preview window? That's a good question. I never even noticed that. Shade according to power. Let me take a quick look on mine, real quick. Let me do a preview. Shade. Oh well, you know what? That's always been on. I've never turned that off. I'm just going to guess that. Let's see. Make cut lines darker or lighter according to the power settings applied. Yeah. Okay. So I really think that I really think it's meaningless. To be honest, I don't see how that make cut lines darker. That doesn't make much sense to me.
Let's see here. I'll show you an example. I've got it pulled up here on my screen. 1 second. And it should be. That's going to show the wrong one.
Thank you, Nick.
There we go. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right. And let's see. Okay. So the circle on the right is 90% power, and the oval on the left is 35% power.
So is that that's just shading it for,
I guess,
your
how
visual, just so that you can see what's going on?
Yeah, in the preview.
Yeah,
window.
I don't find the preview window helpful at all, except I run the job at 40 times speed to make sure everything's going to cut out perfectly. So I really don't find that that preview window helpful at all, except to look at the order of priority, to make sure inner shapes get cut first and things like that. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that.
Patrick, share your channel on the bottom. There are some questions about how to find you. A lot of people wanting to know about your channel.
Oh, okay.
By the way, guys, all of the donations that you make to my channel today in this live stream are going directly to the Laser Makers Realm, and all of these donations are going to be used for supplies and things like that, and they're not coming to me, in other words. So I'm going to distribute this money amongst the guys. So I just wanted to let you know that this is our launch, and that's the reason why we're asking. If everybody donates $1 and we get a couple of hundred people here today, it'll keep us in supplies for a couple of months. And we really appreciate all of your donations, by the way. Thank you so much.
Very much so.
All right, let's move down a little bit more. I got an enclosure and put a 6-inch exhaust fan with dryer ducting. Yeah, that's actually the way to go, Brad. I've got here, if you look up here, you see this black hose up here. I've got that goes upstairs into the attic, into an 1100 CFM industrial blower, which then goes into I think it's a 5-stage air scrubber, and then out 15 feet above the ground into the atmosphere out the side of the building. And that, that's my favorite way to do it. But in the new shop next door, which is almost ready, by the way, guys, and in fact, the Maker's Realm videos are probably going to all be done over there. In the new shop next door, I've just got a 4-inch hose with I'm going to be using an inline fan on that one. So yeah, the bigger the hose, the higher the CFM. And remember, when you're plumbing these things, try not to make turns if at all possible. You're better off going further without putting an elbow in than you are if you put an elbow in. Every time you put an elbow in, you reduce the amount of exhaust. But I think the HVAC guy told me 30%. Big number, a big number. So if you're making 2 turns, you're making a turn coming out of your. Don't put an elbow behind your machine. Make it curve around and go around and straight out the wall if possible. So with me, that's not going to be possible because I'm going to have a few lasers. So I have to put in blast gates and T's. So mine is going to be reduced some, but if at all possible, try not to have any elbows or fittings. Try and run it straight out. Just bend the hoses. Fume extractor. I have fume extractor connected. I use with my CO2. Yeah, you really have to have a fume extractor. Welcome back, Steve. Oh, Steve was sick for a little while there. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I have the ComGrow. Okay, so yeah, this is sort of a love-hate relationship. I've heard some people that say they hate it, and other people say that they love it. I've had the ComGrow now for, I don't know, 8 months or 9 months, and I think it does a superb job. I've never had any problems with mine. Steve has got the ComGrow. Patrick, do you have a ComGrow?
I do not.
You do not. We're gonna have to get them to send you one.
Yeah, I really like, and even though it's not that much bigger bed, it is
Mario.
bigger. And
Thank you, Mario.
The limit switches, I love the consistency of being able to know that I'm sending that job. I love my ComGrow. I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, that's I think the key is consistency. And I've really never done anything to mine. I haven't even updated the firmware. Since the day that I assembled it. I assembled it, and I think in the video I updated the firmware, if I'm not mistaken, and that was it. And I haven't touched it since, except to put the new 20-watt module on. So, and to test that one. All right, let's move on. I have the Scope Fun, I believe. The air movement from underneath pulls through and works very well. Oh, that's another thing that we should probably touch on real quick is the air movement from below. And I think that probably almost everybody that gets a honeycomb bed just drops it down onto their wasteboard and says, okay, let's start cutting.
Yeah.
And what happens if you do that is when you're vaporizing material, you're creating gases. You're turning it from a solid into a gas, and that gas builds up in the honeycomb. Those gases build up in the honeycomb, and as your laser comes back around, it ignites that gas and causes these little micro explosions that you may not even see or realize that actually move your workpiece and could destroy the burn. So if you're using a honeycomb grid, you need to get that air underneath it. And what I do is I raise it up. As long as you get up maybe a half an inch or so, you'll be okay, where your exhaust is going to be pulling from under as well as over, and it evacuates all of those gases that are underneath the honeycomb bed. So if you have a honeycomb bed, a lot of them come with these little corner protectors. You can just put those underneath it to raise it up, as long as it's still level. Or you can take a couple pieces of scrap wood and put that under the honeycomb bed as well. But you want to have, go ahead, Steve.
Cookie cooling racks work pretty well for raising stuff up too.
Yeah, I've used everything.
Yep.
I've used everything since I started with diode lasers. Before I had honeycomb, I actually had, I think it was a 1974 MG Midget radiator.
I just think it's always fun to steal stuff from the kitchen. Then, when your wife wonders where it went, like, oh, it's in the shop, I'm using it.
Well, I used to be, I went to Dollar Tree, and they had these baking racks. And I think after I mentioned it in one of my videos, then all of a sudden people said they couldn't find it anywhere. So I don't know what happened, if they sold out or if they, but it was like little steel baking racks that worked perfectly fine instead of a honeycomb bed. I like the honeycomb bed because the honeycomb is so thin, it's not like the baking rack. A lot of people prefer to do it on knives. Thank you for that donation, Jeepa J.
Yep.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
That's Grandpa Jay.
Grandpa J. Okay, well, that
And,
may not be Grandpa.
uh,
Who knows?
we also got a $50 anonymous. So thank you, Mr. Anonymous or Miss Anonymous. Let's not be
YouTube
sexist.
user. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So anyway, it doesn't matter what you use. And then for a long time, when I first started this, I didn't use anything under it. I used to just put a little piece of wood on either side and lay my wood on top of those. And then it's just air underneath. And that is actually the best way to do it, because if you do that, then nothing underneath gets burned by the laser and causes the soot to come back onto the material. So the cleanest cut you can get is raising the wood, maybe on all four corners or on both ends, so that there's nothing but air underneath it. And that will give you the cleanest cut on both sides. If you have a honeycomb grid underneath there, when the laser hits that metal, well, then that's going to cause that soot to come back up onto the wood. So, but then the opposite problem turns out to be that not all wood is perfectly flat. So sometimes you have to use the honeycomb because you need to either put your dogs in there to hold it down, or your magnets or whatever. So there's two sides to that coin.
Now, I've got a question before we go too far, since we're talking about honeycomb and leaving marks. I have yet to find an effective way to clean my honeycomb. Do you guys have any kind of special formulation besides water, or how do you clean that and
Well,
keep
I'll
it?
tell you, and then Patrick can tell you his way. I go to Walmart and I buy this product called cleaning vinegar, not vinegar that you use to cook, just regular cleaning vinegar. And I put it into a spray bottle, which I have one hanging right up over here. And I spray it onto the honeycomb bed, and I lay it on the sidewalk, and then I just pressure wash it, and it comes out like brand new. But you have to have a pressure washer to do that. How do you clean yours, Patrick?
Shop vac with the brush attachment on it. That's about the extent that I've cleaned mine.
Yeah. Well, you can't get the oil.
Yeah, the creosote or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. But yeah.
That you need to use the vinegar to make it look new. But I vacuum mine all the time. I have a little portable vacuum. Another thing too, you got to be careful of, like, especially with CO2s. I don't know if you all know this, but the number one cause of fires in a CO2, do you guys know what the number one cause of fires is? Not emptying out your tray underneath your knife bed.
Yeah.
So what happens is you don't realize it. You think that, that laser beam coming down is not going to ignite anything down there. But, you might be making a whole bunch of little cuts, and, it just erupts it into fire. And that is the number one reason that that people have fires in their CO2s.
Yep. I vacuum the bottom out regularly. That I do.
Yeah.
I do it after every job, just out of habit.
I got a holy smokes. Thank you. From who is this here? Chuck. Thank you, Chuck. $99.99. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Thank you, Chuck. That's awesome of you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. These donations, like I said earlier, are gonna go straight to the guys. And thank you, Jerry, for that donation. I appreciate it. And thank you, Merrill. But these donations are going to go straight to the guys, and it's going to be all about supplies. We're not taking our wives out to dinner or anything like that. We're going to be buying supplies with all of this, and we're going to be running this like a business. Thank you, Thorsten. Appreciate it. Excuse me. Let me clear my throat.
Yep. And Ventari had one there too.
Yep.
Make sure we mention it.
Thank you, Ventari. I mean, you guys are so generous. It's unbelievable. All right, let's see. I wanted to bring this one up real quick too. The Comgrow is $59. Okay, so they must have went up on their price. I designed 4-inch parts for my glass block and would share if needed. Okay, that's the 4-inch parts are you mean for the exhaust, I'm guessing. If you want to share that, Patrick, put up the social links because we have a bunch of places where you can go to share files. So there you go, scrolling across the bottom of the screen, we've got a whole bunch of places where whichever you like, if you like Facebook groups, if you like a Facebook page, if you like Discord, whatever it might be, you can go to any of these groups, and we'll all be participating there. And if you wanted to share files, everyone would appreciate it. And the whole purpose of this channel is sharing. So is building the community, and that's what we're all about: building the community, sharing files. The thing that I used to hate most about YouTube videos was seeing a thumbnail for someone that says, look at this beautiful box that I make, and I'm going to show you how to make it, and you can get it today. And I watched the 30-minute video, and then at the end he says, yeah, here's a link, the link below to my website. You click on the link and they want $19.99 for the file, and the question, yeah, I understand that you want to make money. That's okay. Sell it on some websites. But if you have a YouTube channel, it's a community, it's not a profit center. It's not some place that you're looking to replace your job, although I guess some people are. But for us, it's a hobby. It's a fun hobby. And for me, it's a community. And I have my forum, and I have my Facebook group, and I have my Facebook page, which I don't participate in as much as I'd like to, only because I'm overworked in my retirement. But I try and keep up. I really try and keep up with the comments on the YouTube videos and keeping the videos coming. So been a little slow after this holiday season right now because I have both sides of this building under construction. And, I've been trying to get all of these things done in time. All right, let's take a look over here. I have a Flash Forge. I'm using integrating it into my Woodcraft. I don't know what a Flash Forge is. Is that a glow forge? Have you guys heard of a Flash Forge?
New to me.
I'm not sure what that is. All right, let's see. Jim, my unit sits in front of a window and I just use a box fan. Well, that's how lots of people do it, Jim. A lot of people use the box fan multi-purpose as well. So they don't put the box fan in the window. They put it in front of the laser, and they open their garage door. And I know because I've done this myself, a year and a half ago when I moved from the shop to my garage. This is what I did. I put the box fan in front of the laser. It blew underneath the work, on top of the work to keep the lens clean, and blew everything out the garage door. And I was on the opposite side, never smelt the thing. So yeah, good tip there.
And the Flash Forge is a 3D printer.
Oh, I see. Okay. A 3D printer. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I just got the Creality large enclosure for my CR10S Pro version 2, 75. Yeah. And Comgrow is a Creality partner. And I believe that new extra large enclosure that they're selling is the Creality enclosure, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe in 2023, they're going to be upgrading that or changing it to have the colored window so that you can look through there. I don't know how well that's going to work with plastic, but yeah, I think that Comgrow also has that Creality, the extra large one. And I absolutely love that too. It's got the silver on the inside with the lights, really powerful LEDs. That's a beautiful enclosure, the Creality enclosure. Robert, okay, you're welcome to share my K-Cup design. Awesome. Thank you. Oh, so Robert, Robert created this K-Cup. Interesting story. And it's a rack. It's your standard rack. And I think it had 1, 2, 3, like 4 rows of K-Cups. And he did an interesting design by mistake. And then he wrote to me and said, "Hey, do I need to put more space in between the rows?" Well, what happened was the way he designed it, there was only a little bit of space between the K cups, which prevented you from taking a K cup out from the row below. So, yeah, I said no, keep it the way it is, because I've even changed my design for the K cup holder, because that, if they take it from the bottom, then the whole thing can tip over. So this prevents them from taking it from the bottom, and you have to take from the top and work your way across row by row. So that was a great idea there, Robert. Great mistake. I think that was a mistake. I'm pretty sure it was. I've heard that diode lasers are slow. Is that true? Yeah. Slow as molasses. But the thing is, it's a different engraving than fiber laser. It's a different engraving than CO2. All the lasers are different. So, like, for instance, I think, Steve, you can probably better explain this. We just had this conversation.
Well, it's back to about the detail. The diode is slow, but if in fact this is an inlay that I've been working on, and this initial inlay, I did this with the diode, and when I got that in and I got to looking at it, I was like, well, it's awful plain, and so I come back and did the outer piece with the CO2. Well, this was my first time trying to do it with the CO2, and it was moving at such a speed, and I didn't have this quite fastened down as securely as I should, but it didn't come out as precise as the diode did. Like I said, the diode is a much more precision tool, and if you're trying to create something as intricate as doing inlays, the diode is my choice, not the CO2.
Yeah, and then of course you have the diode can do darker burns, where the CO2 does deeper burns. So yes, the diode laser, to answer that question, is horribly slow. Now with the newer ones coming out, the 20 watt and the 35 watt, and now the 40 watt, yeah, it's going to speed up.
I wanted to show, with all this talk of fume extraction, I use my laser to cut pieces of acrylic and then 3D printed some 6-inch duct adapters and made my own double pane acrylic windows for my garage door. So I've got
nice
2 different extractors running through 2 different windows.
Nice. I've never seen that. So
and
now
then it's non-destructive, so I can put the original windows back in when I want to.
Now you see what I was mentioning earlier. If you see the way that Patrick's got this here, there's no elbow. You see the way the hoses are bent? That's going to give you the least amount of restriction. So, you don't want to put elbows or T's if you can help it. Run it like he's got it here. Just bend the hose. All right. Let's see. What is a good rotary tool for doing cups? Okay, isn't going to break the bank. Well, I'm going to say that the RA2, the X-Tool RA2 is the best product that they make. It's an awesome rotary tool. A little cumbersome with the taking it apart, but you can do just about anything with that tool. That you can do a lot more with that tool than you can with any other rotary on the market for a diode laser.
It's got so many more the jaws that instead of just the roller. Man,
yeah,
the RA2 is the way to go.
Yeah. Now, if you're talking CO2s, there is no good budget CO2 rotary. There are a couple of, $750 to $1,500 rollers that are awesome. The Rotoboss and some of the better rotary tools, but there is no budget rotary for CO2 lasers. Not that I know of, anyway. That's anything more than 2 rollers and a stepper motor. So,
in fact,
OnTech makes a good one. I can't remember what's their Type A or C.
Type
it has
B
some different, or B, that has a different adjustments. Then probably the next step up from that, Mansfield. Then you got the Piber and Rotoboss.
Right, exactly. But the Type B is a good one for a CO2. Still not, the RA2 for diode. Nothing beats that.
Yeah,
and
with all the headaches I've had out of my X tool, that's what I will be using it for primarily now. Is it's going to be set up with my RA2 set in it permanently. So when I need to do rotary, I'm going to the X tool.
Yeah, exactly. So now another thing too is that there are 3 other companies that are now coming out with clones of the RA2. One of them is on the way that I'm going to test. I'm not going to mention it right now. Supposed to be a clone of the RA2 with a faster changeover. So, like, let's say you needed to do a cup that had a handle, and you had to reverse the head so that you could elevate it so the handle could move freely. Well, this one is supposedly twice as fast to do changeovers. Merrill says schools in this area getting into 3D printing and CAD instructions. Yeah, the schools here have been into it for here in Louisiana for 2 or 3 years now. They have whole computer labs now, the high school. 1 p.m. Pacific. Okay. So that's my friend Jerry, 3DHP, the 3D printing channel. I got that wrong. 3 o'clock is my time, Central. That's right. 1 p.m. Pacific is his live stream on Saturdays. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's actually a lot of fun. Lots of great, smart people on the channel. I feel a little intimidated when I go over there, but I join in every once in a while on a Saturday. Allows you to see the progression of a grayscale. Okay, going back to that last topic, we're getting a little behind on the comments. Let's see. I can't recommend the X Tool RA2 Pro. I can't recommend it. It's not the cheapest, but it comes with all. I think he thinks I can recommend it, not can't. I can't recommend it. It's not the cheapest, but it comes with it is a great tool. Army Dog says he hasn't had time to watch too many of our videos. All 3 of us. Shame on you. Been super busy engraving slate. Slate's one of my favorite materials to engrave, and one of my favorite ways to engrave it. When it comes to photos, it's going to be on the CO2, but when it comes to vectors or rasters, it's going to be on the diode because I can get different colors. So I can get silver, and I can get gold, and I can get white. So using different layers, different powers and speeds, you can get some really beautiful looking slate coasters, just all kinds of things. Charcuterie boards.
Which laser did you say gives you the gold?
What was that?
You can get it with diode, CO2, or fiber.
You can get gold on slate with a diode.
Yeah.
I gotta play with that.
Yeah. I actually did a police officer's badge on a slate coaster. I'm sorry, my air conditioner is kicking on. I'm up to 78 degrees in here now. Jack just subbed to 3DHP. Okay, I'm sure Jerry will appreciate that. There's Patrick. Made a comment there. Okay. move on to the next one. What's the best camera from my LaserMaster 3? Well, the best camera is going to be, if you go into Lightburn and you go to, what is it, Laser Tools? No, Help, Camera Selection. You look in there. It depends on how you're going to mount it. So if you're going to mount it in an enclosure that's 10 inches high, then you have to look for that. You look for the height that you're looking to mount it at. If you have an enclosure that's 4 feet high, well, then you'd pick one type of camera. It'll tell you in the help section of Lightburn which one to pick. And basically, you pick your camera based on the height from the workbed that it's going to be. And lots of people say, oh, they don't like the camera, they don't use the camera because it doesn't work right. They work right. Any camera works right. It doesn't matter what camera you use, as long as you follow the instructions from Lightburn that gives you the distance from the workbed. So if you buy the right camera based on distance, it's going to work right for you. So help, camera selection help. And there's where you get your answer. YouTube user, $50. Wow, that's the second donation. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'd like to know who you are. Okay, let's see. What is this? Can't recommend it enough. It's great and worth the money. I think he's talking about the RA2. Made my DIY exhaust currently. 2 printers, expandable to more for under $20. Wow, that's good. That's good. Good. I mean, I don't think I could do that. I noticed my speed settings look to be defaulted to millimeters per second as opposed to millimeters per minute. Is this common? Well, millimeters per second are generally used for CO2 lasers, and millimeters per minute are usually used for diode lasers. Now, if you want to change that, let's say you're in millimeters per second and you want to change that to millimeters per minute, what you would do is in Lightburn, at the very top of the screen, you're going to see the 2 gears icons. If you click on that, you can change that into whatever you want, millimeters per second, millimeters per minute, inches per minute. That's completely up to you. But like I said, typically it's going to be millimeters per second for CO2, millimeters per minute for the diode laser.
And it's really not relevant which one you use, right?
No.
I mean, I learned using millimeters per second, and people complain a lot on my channel, like, man, don't you do this millimeters per minute? I said, well, this is what I know. And in order for me to convert it your way, I'm just simply divide by 60, multiply by 60. Instead of me relearning it, it's my channel.
Well, typically it's going to be, okay, so it's going to be millimeters per minute for a diode. So now Patrick's showing you some of the colors going on here.
Yep, that was a CO2 galvo with those 3 colors there.
Yep. And that's the CO2 galvo is nice. They're so much faster than the regular CO2. All right. James says, as starting out using Atom Stack A5 M40 before I try and spend more money and moving up to a higher laser, are there any sources that cater with tutorials and files? Yeah, we do.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
You're in the right place.
You're in the right place. Yeah. And this Laser Makers Realm is going to be, it's going to be all about sharing files, and all of our channels are about tutorials. So we've got all kinds of social media. I've got a forum with like 30,000 members there. You ask a question there, it gets answered, so yeah. What software are you using? Lightburn settings to change that are very okay. Not sure what that was for. Okay, let's see. Someday soon, I want to put a switch, a plug for a rotary for a Montport K40 with Lightburn to make it easier to switch over. Yeah, that's pretty easy to do. So you just need an AB switch, and you can wire it you can wire the rotary permanent and have the cheetah cable inside the power supply box. Just throw the switch, plug in the cable, and you're good to go. You just need an AB switch for that. Is it okay to run a diode laser in freezing weather in an unheated? Yeah, it's fine. These wires are so small, I don't think you're going to have to worry too much about them freezing and cracking. You know, I don't live in a cold climate, so I can't tell you if anyone's ever had problems with them. You will see a better the temperature range with a diode varies the power. The hotter it is outside, the more power you have from a diode laser. And as you get down into the cold weather, you get less and less power on the output, the optical output. So you'll have less power. You may have to change your settings, but it's perfectly fine to use them in the cold. In fact, I was watching someone's channel about a month ago where they were in the house running a job in their shop outside. It was 0 degrees out, and they were watching the job run on camera. It was a diode. I think it was an X tool. So I don't think you have anything to worry about there. The only thing you have to worry about is the CO2. If you haven't winterized your CO2, or if you're not using food grade 100% RV antifreeze, then you have to worry about it. And if you're going to run your CO2 in the winter, I suggest going over to now I'm going to forget the name of it. Light Objects, and picking up their afterburner. And it's basically something that just sits on top of your chiller. And instead of your hoses going out to the laser, your hoses go out to the afterburner. Then they come out of the afterburner and go into the laser, in and out of the laser. And that afterburner is basically just a heater, a lot better than an aquarium heater like most people use. So one way or the other, either you use the food grade pink antifreeze at 100% strength, or use an afterburner. A lot of people say they just leave their chiller on and keep the water running, and it's fine. It never freezes. I wouldn't trust that. Rick. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. Danny says, with the new 35-watt diode lasers coming out, how would you weigh diode versus CO2 for a less than $2,000 laser? What might be the main difference?
Speed.
The main difference is going to be your speed, only because the CO2 can handle a higher speed. So, for instance, you can run a job at 500 millimeters per minute on this machine behind me. Per second on this machine behind me. So that would be 30,000 millimeters per minute on a diode. You're not going to be able to do that with the 35 or the 20 watt. And the reason why is, number one, the control board doesn't support it. And number two, turn this air conditioner off. It's too noisy. And number two, there's going to be too much weight on the gantry to run that kind of speed. So the main difference is going to be speed.
And one other difference in size.
Mm-hmm.
In most
Right.
cases, your CO2 is going to have a much larger work area.
Right.
So,
exactly.
If you're wanting to cut or build bigger projects, then you need that. Or the CO2 is advantageous. Yeah.
Best video of X-Tool D1 Pro 20-watt extension install. Where can I find? On YouTube. You're gonna have to search that one on YouTube. I don't know. I can't tell you what the best one is. I've only seen one, and I think it's a pretty basic. If you upgrade it, if you assemble the X-Tool to begin with, you should be able to do the extension kit. From what I hear, there have been some problems with the bed size and the control board, but the physical part of it, I don't know. Patrick, is a question for you.
Set it for the material testing tool in Lightburn. Yeah, let me pull that up. So if we go laser tools in Lightburn and material test, you'll see the material test generator. You can have presets set in there for different materials and different lasers, obviously. So if we take a look at one I did for brass, I was comparing the interval here in this drop down on the left versus frequency in the drop down on the right. So you have several different parameters that you can compare in each, or you can compare two different parameters in each test, and then you have several to choose from. So for the fiber laser, you have speed, power, interval, passes, and frequency. So basically you set your minimum and maximum of what the parameter for this one, example, interval 0.001 to 0.05. Then you set your box size, and I have it 3 millimeter by 3 millimeter. And then you tell Lightburn where to center it up. And then you add a material setting. So that's going to be your basic engraved setting, independent of the parameters that you're changing. And then the text setting is what Lightburn will burn on to the left and to the bottom of your material test, outlining what the X and Y axis represents. And then you just run it like a normal job with your preview and frame, and then start it, record your results, and move on. That's the quick and simple explanation.
Okay. All right. So then you have another question here that I think I just lost about the where the heck is it now? I switched to something else and I lost it. About the rotary.
I have a fiber laser and a rotary. Will not go back to the original start point.
Yes, that's the one. Mm-hmm.
It's at 10:22 a.m. just underneath Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Won't go back to the original start point. I would imagine the steps are not. Well, I don't know. I have to investigate further to see, because it could be something with your steps for rotation, or where you're starting the job from. It might not be starting at 0. Maybe starting off axis somewhere. Yeah, I'd probably have to have some more information to diagnose that one.
Okay, let me. I don't know how I got so far. I switched over to a different screen, and I am way behind here. Let's see, 10:22. I'm still scrolling, trying to get to 10:22. 10:10, 10:17.
Thank you, Larry, and thank you, Gary. Appreciate your donations.
Okay. Okay, so this is a good question. How do I figure out what number to start with on the material test? You've got to have some idea of where to start. And I did an entire video on this. And the way that I tell new people, how do you get your initial starting numbers? Well, what you do is, if you watch my video, I've got the resources on my forum where you can download a cut and engrave library for your particular laser, whether it's a CO2, whether it's a diode. I've got libraries that are close enough to every type of laser that's out there on the market, except for fibers. And so let's say you have a 10-watt laser. You go to my forum, you download the 10-watt library, you install it into Lightburn, and you start there. So if you need to engrave something, you're engraving on wood, you go to the wood section, go to engrave, look at what those numbers are. The 2540 power for your particular module. That's where you start. So you'll start a little bit less and go higher, and that's how you figure out how to start your material test. And I have an entire video on that on my channel, by the way.
And Rich will have CO2 galvo and fiber laser light burn libraries soon. As soon as I get those prepped, then he'll have them to put on his forum.
Awesome. That would be great. 3D printing. Havaprusa, what software do you recommend for creating objects and why? Don't ask me.
Creating what kind of objects?
I think he's talking about what CAD software do you? I use Tinkercad.
Yeah, you can use Tinkercad, the free version of Fusion 360. There's a Blender, 3D Builder in Windows. It's a free Windows program.
Oh, that's a great program.
Make some basic stuff.
Yeah, 3D Builder is a great program in Windows. Yeah, great free program. I started out using FreeCAD. That's what I started out using, but then I went to Tinkercad, and I never looked back. But I don't do a lot of 3D printing, so it's not my forte. I've been 3D printing for a couple of years now, but I'm not that good at it. I'm happy to say that.
And do you mind if I back up just a brief second on the question about finding your settings?
Mm-hmm.
One thing, what I do is look on the laser's website, look at my spec on my laser. What is the laser's maximum speed? What is it? What's the fastest it can go? Well, I know what its highest power is. So I find its highest speed, find its highest power. There's my top. And then I find what is the lowest output that I get.
Mm-hmm.
And then my first test will be the lowest to the max. And it's going to be a huge gradient. And then I find that pocket that has a good full burn, that still having some variation, and then run a different test. And I found that by doing that, with each different laser I've got, those settings tend to be the same regardless. And once I found that pocket, after running one or two initial tests, then I can use those same settings every time.
Right.
So the maximum speed, maximum power with a minimum output as the opposing, and then you can find that perfect window of opportunity to make your test patterns.
Agreed.
It's real simple.
Agreed. So would you recommend a standalone diode laser versus? I would absolutely recommend a standalone diode laser versus a CNC router. CNC router has a work bed that's divided into 4 quadrants, and your 0 is up in one quadrant. And I don't think that laser modules are appropriate for CNC machines. I think you should. That's my opinion. I think you should get a machine that's designed to do what it's designed to do and not multi-purpose.
Yep, I agree.
Fusion 360. Okay, that I hear that talked about a lot.
What timestamp are you at there, Rich?
I'm at 10:21.
Welcome, Jim.
Huh?
10:21.
10:20. Okay.
And there's another endorsement of Fusion 360. Okay. Let's keep moving. Can I cut a couple of inches off the ComGrow camera support post so it fits under my enclosure without? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know exactly what camera that they're using, but I would assume that the height that they set the support bar at is probably the appropriate height for that camera. So, and usually these heights are like within an inch or two, based on the lens of the camera. So I would probably say no. I would probably say no. to be safe, I don't think I would change that distance. I don't know what you guys think.
I would test it at that distance first, and if it still covers the whole bed, then it shouldn't be an issue.
You just have to probably go through all the recalibrations and everything.
Yeah, you'd have to realign it anyway. Yeah.
I found that with all the different cameras that I've done and the different camera videos that I've done, that if I don't use the right height, like the very first camera that I got was a regular webcam. And then I came to find out, what the megapixels were and everything else. And I was always having trouble with the height that I had it set at, which it was clipped on top underneath a shelf. And I had no way of changing that height. And I found that height was about 6 inches too high. And I always had trouble with the engravings being off on it. And then when I lowered it into and put it on a fixture, I never had problems with it after that. So I think it does have a lot of bearing. The height, you have to use the camera picker to match your lens and set it at that height. And that's my opinion anyway. Jack hates Tinkercad. I love it. I don't really hate anything. I think Tinkercad is a good free resource for, I think you should call that CAD for Dummies, maybe. That's probably why he hates it, because it is CAD for Dummies. But it works well for me because I don't know that much about it at all. Meryl's saying Tinkercad. Now I know Meryl also does CNC. Tinkercad, Autodesk Fusion, 3D Builder, Blender. Okay.
Cool.
I'm starting engravings for all of our podcasts for promotions. Awesome. Okay. All right. Just downloaded 3D Builder. Okay. I wish I knew more about this topic. I've been so focused on light burn and lasers over the last year or so. I never really got a chance to learn it, although I've made lots of stuff.
I use 3D Builder to tweak STL files that I'm going to convert to grayscale PNGs, just to either to give them a base or, like a circle base, or put a circle around them. But, whatever I'm going to do for a coin or something, just to modify that STL to tweak it a little bit, and it works great.
Maria, click the two little gear icons that you see up at the top of your screen, and on the top left side of the window that opens up, you'll see beginner mode. Tick that off. I don't know how people get into beginner mode to begin with. I don't even know why they have it. I think that's a bad feature in Lightburn, the beginner mode. It's completely worthless. All right, Kim says, I was able to connect the laser to a computer, but when I want to see the area that it's going to work on, I only know to use the frame button, but it doesn't have the blue light to see. Okay, so you have to actually turn that on in your settings. So if you go up to the top, you'll see the gear and screwdriver icon up at the top of the screen. And if you click on that icon under the basic settings tab, you're going to see enable laser fire button and laser on when framing. And those are the two things. There you go. Thank you, Patrick. So close that up and show her again. Just bring it back out again.
Yeah, sure.
So up at the top, you'll see the screwdriver. Well, you can't see it because your camera's there. But in the top, you'll see the screwdriver and the wrench icon. Just click on that icon, and you'll see it right in that.
Whoops.
That's the wrong one.
Sorry, wrong one.
Yeah,
I clicked the wrong one.
That's the right one. So you just need to turn it on right there, and You do not need to restart Lightburn anymore. A lot of people saying that you have to restart Lightburn. You haven't had to do that since version 1. So once you do that, it's set to go.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So I love the dragon there. Resin Dragon Studios. This is my first live.
Mine too.
This is my second live. So welcome to the welcome to the show.
Yeah, I guess this is our first live, isn't it? Yeah.
This is our first live. Yeah, not yours, Patrick. You've been live quite a few times. Looking for the new laser. Looking for a new laser. Have Ortura Laser Master 2 SF. Is the Acer 35 worth the money? Well, nobody knows yet because nobody's got one yet. I've got one coming. It's supposed to be in the post now, so it should be here any day. I'll be doing a review on it pretty soon. But I can tell you that Acer is the only laser manufacturer that, and I've since found out that it's actually Creality that manufactures it. I don't think they want anybody to know that for some reason, but Acer is the only laser engraver that I actually recommend. Well, actually, I should say that I recommend the NAJ Max 3 and with the A4640 module and any Acer machine, and they're quality machines. Now, the NAJ Max 3 does have some little idiosyncrasies about it that you do need to know a little bit about lasers to get around from time to time. And usually that's with the bed size and the homing and things like that. But the Acer is a solid machine. Out of the box, it's great for a newbie. I would recommend any of the Acer products to anybody that asks me, and it is the only laser that I have formally recommended to my viewers. I'm going to guess that 35 watt is going to be just as good. Can you give a short update on using a portable ice maker with the CO2? Are you still using it? No, Cheeks. I did that as I took off my CW3000 back then, and I used it. I did it as a demonstration just to see if there could be a budget way to chill the CO2, and it actually worked better. Well, it worked much better than my CW3000. Worked better than even my CW5200, which is has a real compressor. The problem that I had was I would have had to modify it. Now, I did run it for all of 2.5 months or so, and every job that I did, it was perfect. I had my little I actually had to get a little heat gun, which don't know what here it is. I actually had to buy this to keep track of it. And I would check the water temperature throughout the job, and I got to tell you that it worked perfectly. I just took the ice bin out, put the distilled water in, filled it all the way up, and turned it on, waited 7 or 8 minutes, and that's it. It was chilling the water instead of making ice. And the problem that I had with it is that I needed to add a temperature probe so that would turn the machine on and off. And I didn't want to get into the modifying of it. I was still going to use that as a ice maker in the motorhome. So I didn't want to get into all the modifications, but the modifications would be drilling 2 holes in the top, to put your lines through, and getting that temperature control. Because the problem that I had was that it would get the water too cold. So when you get below 5, 6, 7 degrees of ambient room temperature, then the inside CO2 tube will start to get condensation, which will cause short downs in the tube, and you'll burn up more CO2 or burn out your tube, if that happens over time. So you got to make sure that it would get too cold was the problem. So you would need to have a temperature regulator, and I didn't want to get into all that. But yeah, I mean, $150, you'll have a better chiller using the portable ice maker than you would with a commercial one.
And I want to say a thank you to Gary for the kind words, and thank you for your $10 donation. Thanks, Chuck Wheeler, for your donation. Appreciate it.
Thank you all so much. These donations mean a lot. All of these donations today are going to the guys for supplies, so that we can, keep these videos coming for you on this channel. Once this channel gets monetized, then we can go back to switch over to having the donations over there just for the channel. And if everybody that watches the channel donates $1, that'll keep the channel going forever, and the videos will keep coming. Oh, that I missed that question. Should the laser be running 24/7 even if not in use? Oh, so I'm not sure which laser that you're talking about. Some people in the winter keep their CO2s running 24/7. Of course, you turn off the power supply for the laser tube on the CO2. You can keep the laser running. The only thing that's really running is the pump and the lights and a couple of LEDs. Of course, your power supply is running as well. But some people keep the CO2 running in the winter to keep the water circulating if their shop doesn't get too cold. If you're getting like below 30 degrees, then I wouldn't suggest you do that. But on the diode laser, many diode lasers receive power from the computer, the 5 volts, the minute you plug in the USB, and they'll be powered 24 hours a day. That won't affect anything. So you can leave a diode laser plugged in 24 hours a day. It's not going to be a problem at all. Maker Theory is using Fusion 360 for designing 3D. Looking into the new SolidWorks. SolidWorks, I hear that a lot.
Geo at Baker Theory, he's pretty good with his 3D designs. So yeah, I pay attention to what he says.
Yeah. Okay, I have an X Tool. Andy says he has an X Tool D1 Pro, and it works great in all instances except one. When I hit the home button, the laser head moves left but not back. Any ideas? Again, okay. So one of the biggest mistakes I think that Mia and Jason make at X Tool is they train people improperly on how to use a D1, and that could be happening because the laser may think that the Y is already at the home position. Because the way that they train you to use the laser and the way a lot of people use the laser is by sliding it around by hand, moving the laser module by hand. Well, that's not the way you're supposed to use a laser. You should be starting in the home position. If you have the older style, you don't have limit switches, you can move it by hand to the home position. And then when you turn on the machine, it knows that it's home. Then you should use absolute coordinates. Or if you're not using absolute coordinates, you want to use current position or use origin, you can go to the move tab, use the arrows to move it to wherever you want, and then switch over to and then use origin or current position that way. You should not be moving the laser head by hand. So that could be your problem. I know the X tools are riddled with problems, and there seems to be a lot of different solutions to different problems.
Thank you, Jim. $20.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. All right. So,
and what is your timestamp? Just catching up. Where are you at on timestamp?
10:31.
Okay. Well, and I want to back up then because thanks to Jim for the donation. Jim had a question at 10:24 that kind of piques my interest as well. He said he would like to hear about products that can be marketed to scale and make more than just pocket change. And that was part of my reason for wanting to get into the CO2 was because I'm taking forever to do a project on the diode. Time is money. So if it's taking me 5 hours to make 5 projects that I can do in 45 minutes on the CO2, well, that was my justification for the investment in the CO2. But at the same time, coming back to being able to produce a finer, more detailed, better quality image or product using the slower more precise diode, you get a much better finished product. And also about the materials you're using when you're doing your project. Are you working with, like this is my first piece of working with zebra wood, and this is just a simple box using the tabs and slots like this. But by using a hardwood, I was able to sand everything down and blend in those finger joints, and they're almost hidden. And by using a better quality material, you can turn out a much finer looking piece that's going to bring a whole lot more money. And that was done with the diode, not with the CO2. So it's about, how much time do you want to put into it? How much money do you want to put into it? And then also valuing your time. That's the other thing. A big problem I have is people in my area who are just whoring the market with putting out fast, cheap stuff on their CO2, and the finished product is subpar, in my opinion, and they're selling it for pennies on the dollar. And so when people look at mine, says, well, they've got them up there and they're only $5. Yours is $25. Yeah, well, mine's also finished. It's sanded. It's lacquered finish. It's hardwood. It's not made out of bamboo. So there's all kinds of factors. But what is your opinion as far as how do you scale up? How do you make more money with your laser?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and that's another thing too, is that so many people get into this and they underprice the market. They price their items to fail, and that's the worst thing that you can do. There is no competition in this industry. There is no competition. I've said that so many times. What Steve does and what I do are two different things. What Patrick does and what I do are two different things. But what the three of us do are quality things. When you compare my work here, when I was doing Facebook Marketplace before the Amazon store, I was doing Facebook Marketplace on the weekends. And I had people that were selling the same exact thing that I was selling. Like, for instance, one weekend I had up these bamboo kitchen utensils, a set of 5. And I was selling those for $49. And I had somebody else that was selling them for $9. Everything that I did and sold on Facebook Marketplace, this other guy would buy the same products and undercut me on the price. But guess what? I still sold mine because his quality was crap, and mine was top quality. So when it comes to selling, raise your price. Don't try and undercut the market, and don't try and compete with the next guy. Overprice your products because they're better, and make them better. So
make them better, man. And you told me that story on those utensils, and one of the things that I recall from that story is the way that you treated them and coated them after they were done.
Right.
That people don't see the work going in. But when you set your product next to someone else's, if you've taken the time to really finish the product,
yes,
you can get that higher dollar out of it.
Yeah. So he with the utensils in particular, he would just burn them. Any old thing, not personalized. He would just burn images on them, and didn't even take the time to take a wet cloth and wipe off the soot when it was finished. And he'd put it up, like with one image on the spoon part or something like that. And my images, I showed you, Steve, when I took them down from up there on the show. My images followed the contours of the spoon itself. So, I had Top Chef on one side, the person's name on the handle, and then, some type of graphic that, like on the fork one, that would go through all of the different forks and be lined up perfectly. Then I would hand sand them and hand polish them.
Yep.
And I have a beeswax that I mixed with cutting board oil, and I cooked it in the beeswax is little chunks. I put it all into a crock pot and I cook it. And I have these little 4-ounce tins that, I'd fill up, and after I cooked it in the crock pot, and I had a label that I laser engraved that I put on the top of it with directions on how to keep it looking brand new, the utensils. So mine were worth the money and his weren't. And I really doubt that he even sold any, because I used to sell out on mine all the time.
Yeah, final fit and finish and post processing is just as important as the laser work. That's how you
Absolutely.
set yourself apart.
Yes.
As important, if not more so.
It's more, I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
more important. More important.
I was being.
So finally getting to this comment in material test under Patrick. Why don't you take this one?
I answered that question in chat for him.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep.
Great. So
thank you, Jason, for the $10. And we got another. Who is this? Kim. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Jason.
I don't know why I'm not seeing those. Okay. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate that. All right. Let's see. This is a good question right here. Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
No. I gotta take over on this one. Then you can put that back up.
Yeah.
Whataburger or Five Guys? Okay. Put it back up, Patrick.
Five Guys.
Oh, sorry. Whataburger for me. Go ahead and put the other one back up, Patrick. It's definitely going to be Whataburger for me.
And thank you, William.
And Kim. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate that. William, thank you so much. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, a small Irish YouTuber just did a video on the O'Farrow laser, also a CNC. I like the O'Farrow laser too. I did a review on that. I thought that was a great machine. Okay, Johnny says, I've gotten weird results in test material, and I'm wondering if the material settings and text settings fields are overriding my other settings.
Yeah, I had told him that the test settings should override the base material settings that are at the bottom. That's what should happen.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That if you're talking about the light burn test, material test, then that overrides everything.
Yep.
I don't have Corel Draw. What is a good conversion program to work with Lightburn? Lightburn doesn't need a conversion program. Just drag your image or your vector raster into Lightburn. It automatically converts it. So you don't need any type of conversion software.
And if there are any beginner users out there watching right now who have not begun to use Lightburn, what are you waiting for? Lightburn is not intimidating. It should not be intimidating. It is very easy to grasp. I actually started watching Rich's channel 2 weeks before ever receiving my laser. And so I was able to really do some studying, and then downloaded the software and played with it before ever even getting my laser on premises. And initially I was like, oh man, this is going to be, but I've never looked at any of these types of programs before. Never had any experience with any of the CAD or anything like this. It is not that difficult. And what I have learned in this short period of time and playing with the software that comes with Xtool, and then also I've got the Xcarve and playing with their easel software, this proprietary software that comes with these different pieces of equipment, man, they're so handicapping and so elementary and so difficult to use. Get away from that stuff.
Agreed.
Don't be intimidated. Pull the trigger, get that light burn, watch Rich's channel, watch my channel. It is not that hard to grasp, and you can do so much with this.
Don't forget about Patrick's channel.
Yeah, well, and Patrick, yes. I haven't seen Patrick's tutorials. In fact, I haven't seen a lot. I'll have to. This is what's great about this Laser Makers, is it's going to bring so many different people. The people who are going to be drawn to his channel are people who are not going to be, having watched mine in the past. But hopefully they'll bleed off. I watched the video today. You're doing the mags, and that's impressive. to watch those lasers. That's just another thing for me to put on my wish list.
Yeah,
Yep.
the PMags are awesome. Patrick did a PMag for me for my AR, 4 different colors. I mean, it came out just with my logo on it and everything. I'm not quite sure what this question. You guys understand this question? Rotary for bigger objects than the laser bed?
What you talking about, Willis?
What kind of laser bed?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what. I think maybe they're talking about the fiber.
Or they've got one of the really small lasers.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking it might be a fiber. I'm not sure what that question means.
Yeah, I'm not sure. For a fiber laser, you can get an extension like this, a nice piece of aluminum. It's milled and threaded, and set it on your bed and use that to extend how far your rotary is and what size objects you can use.
Right.
Which
I
know
think that
the
might be the
guy
question.
that makes and sells these.
Maybe you could throw a link. Can you put a link up to that?
Yeah.
All right. Patrick O'Brien says, can the RA2 be used with a CO2 40 watt? It can be used with the Monport 40 watt. It can be used with the OhmTech. Some of them are different. Yes, you can. So you need to know a little bit about wiring. You need to know how to take the pins out, because you got to match up your pins, your positive, negative, TTL, all that stuff. You got to make sure that the pins work properly. And on the control board, you'll see the 5-pin connector. You just, for the Y, just pull that out and you put in the, and actually the RA2 comes with adapters, with wiring adapters. So they should have one. I need to look in mine and see if they have that. But yeah, you can use it with the 40 watt CO2. No problem. Yes, this is our first. This is our launch of the channel, first live stream. First time we're doing this. My second live stream ever. I think this is Steve's first.
First, yes, I'm a virgin.
All right,
I've done a few.
I got to roll. Well, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I've got the NAJ Max 3 for diodes, very powerful. Yes, the NAJ Max 3, if you got the A4640 module or maybe the E40 with it, fantastic machine. It's going to do anything and everything that you want in a laser engraver. Yes, thank you for that. Hey, don't forget, after the stream, once the live stream becomes a video, come back and leave a comment. Tell us what you thought of the live stream today, and give it a like. And we want to get as many thumbs ups as we can. The faster we get, rewatch it.
And if you have a question that didn't get answered here, put it in the comments, and one of us will try to get to it. Absolutely.
One of us will get to it. So if your question doesn't get answered here today, we have a short time. We're getting pretty close to the 2-hour mark. We're probably going to cut off at about 2 hours. So if we don't answer your question here, make sure you leave the comment after the video becomes a video instead of a live. Johnny's thanking you.
Did you say you were going to repost this video over
It's
on
going to
Laser
automatically it'll automatically become a video once we're done streaming.
Right. That'll be on your channel. I didn't know if you're going to repost it over on Laser Maker Realm.
It'll be on the Laser Maker Realm website. Yeah, and also on the blog.
Cool.
Old drinking fountains worth, yeah. Yes, they do. The difference is that you have to modify it quite a bit, because the old drinking fountains, they have that, and in fact, I know somebody who did this in Baton Rouge. They have that tank, that stainless tank inside. So you do have to do some modifications, though. He had to do some drilling and put some fittings in and things like that. But he did use an old water cooler. That's a great idea. I ordered the Acer 20 watt Pro well over a month ago, but still have not received it. Yeah. The PRC has taken like full control of the people in China. So everywhere you go, and I think just a couple of days ago, the WHO came out and with these new numbers, and they're letting go. They're finally letting go of their chokehold on the people over there. But all of these factories have been shut down, like rolling shutdowns, COVID-19 shutdowns across China. So yeah, a lot of these companies, if they don't have the supply chain already set up here in the U.S. with the U.S. warehouses, it's going to be a while before you get whatever it is that you're ordering from China. So they've really the PRC really took advantage of this COVID-19 and in some really incredibly stupid ways. And they pretty much up until last week, they've had China locked down for over a month. So I have to turn the temperature control up. It keeps my water too cold. It's an awesome answer. I think he's talking about on the I don't know what he's talking about. The ice maker doesn't have temperature control, so he might be talking about on the chiller itself. On a chiller, you got to be careful of your temperature. So your temperature swing should be no more than 5 degrees. A lot of people misunderstand using a chiller with a CO2 machine, and they think that the colder the better, and that's just not the case. If it excuse me, if it's 50 degrees in your shop, the temperature should get no colder than 45. If it's 60 degrees in your shop, the temperature should get no colder than 55. If it's 70 degrees, it should get no colder than 65. You have to keep the temperature is based on the ambient room temperature for the chiller. And if you just leave it in intelligent mode, the way it comes from the factory, where it will maintain that temperature based on ambient temperature, then you're good to go. People start having problems when they go into manual mode and they set a particular temperature that doesn't match the temperature in their shop. And that's where they run into problems.
Thank you for your donation, Matthew. This is a $50 donation, guys. Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Much appreciated. I'm watching your channel post link to the new one you're talking about.
I posted it already.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't know what Jerry was talking about there. Okay. Anyone play with? So I guess I'm getting behind in these comments here. How to make in Lightburn a bigger work area than my work area? You can't. You can't make it bigger than your work area. You'll run into the rails.
For design purposes, you can design as large as you want. Doesn't matter.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You can just, in fact, I'll do that a lot. If I'm building a larger project that's going to be, one of the boxes that's 20 pieces that's going to be cut out in 4 different jobs, I just drag it off the workbed and design in a white space.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's where I do most of my designing is in the white space, not on the work grid. On many lasers, anything that you have in the white space is completely ignored by Lightburn. If you have an older version of Lightburn, that's not necessarily true. Older versions like 9.24 and below that, it sees everything. So you definitely don't want to do that. But with the newer versions, you can design off screen.
Just like that.
Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that comment. Which laser would you recommend that someone have if they want to cut, engrave metals, acrylic, and wood? Well, that would be a no-brainer. Patrick can answer that for you. That would be fiber laser.
Now, how thick of metal can you cut with your fiber?
Depends on what the wattage is.
And how much time you have.
Yeah.
Because fiber lasers were never really meant to cut metal, because obviously the beam comes out at a center point and then angles out. So you're never going to get a straight cut because the beam's not directly overhead of where you're cutting.
Yeah.
So, depending on how thick, you could have a basically a curved cut, not a nice clean cut like you would get with a gantry style laser. But for metals, you'd want fiber. For wood, CO2 would be ideal. So ideally, you'd want two different lasers.
Yeah, that was my initial thought, was for metal, wood, and what was the other, acrylic. You almost need three different animals there in order to accomplish all those tasks.
Yep, CO2 would get your acrylic and wood, and fiber would get your metal. In general. Now, I have engraved wood and cut wood with my fiber laser. It is possible, but it takes more practice, and it's not as refined as using the CO2. Your results are not as high quality in general.
Thanks, Jerry. But yeah, we need that 4,000 watch hours to get donations to the channel.
That was a $20 donation from Jeffrey. Thank you very much, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Dwayne is asking, will the RA2 Pro rotator work with the Acer P20 Plus? Yeah, they have 3 different adapter cables that pretty much make it work with any laser. So it's definitely going to work with that. If any of those 3 adapter cables don't work, then you might have to change the pins by looking at the color coding of the wiring. And you may even have to trace it with a meter. I think on the RA2, they only have one color, and that's black. So you may have to test that out, test the wires out, and find out which is which. But ultimately, yes, you can press in and pull the pins out and change them around in the connector.
Looks like we got a resolution on Andy's, I think, homing problem on his X tool. Says thanks everyone got it figured out and left a $10 donation. So we got some positive results there for Andy, and thank you, Andy.
Okay.
Right. Yep. Okay, let's see. Don't race to so that's what we were talking about earlier. A race to the bottom. Make a quality product and charge a lot of money for it. And the more you charge, the more value it has to the customer. I don't know if you know that or not, but the more you charge, the more value the customer will see in that item. More likely they'll be coming back to you to shop with you. All right. Jerry says he hates working with 2 or 3. Well, you know what? Welcome to the club. 1/4 inch is the best material that you're going to find to work with on a laser. No question about that. The thin woods are definitely going to warp more than anything else. I always keep them under pressure. My big rough cut wood, my 8 and 10 foot long boards, I keep standing up, but they're an inch thick. My regular hobby wood, well, that the hobby wood I keep laying flat with weight on top of them. So, all right, let's see. Do you have a video on finishing the project? I don't typically do videos on finishing. I just talk about how I finished it, and I'll show the finished product. But I guess maybe I should start doing that. My videos are so long to begin with that it takes me 30 minutes to get my point across. So that's why I try and keep the ending as short as possible.
I plan on doing some longer format videos. They're going to show from the beginning to the end of projects that start out maybe using a table saw and a router,
Right.
and finish up with, I don't know, shellac or epoxy.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of my projects start out is on a table saw and then on a planer, and things like
Yeah.
that. So yeah.
And
Okay, I gotta do this real quick. 1 in a row, 2, 3. Am I that far behind? 4, all these people. I'm sorry, guys. It's Whataburger. Whataburger for me.
we don't have a Whataburger here, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
5 Guys, if you have them throw green peppers, jalapenos, and onions on the grill with your burger, it's great.
Now, back to the finishing, the one thing that you have talked about in some of your videos, Rich, and a lot of people was surprised to see, they haven't seen it. And I made a joke in one of my videos about having a very secret proprietary cleaning solution that I keep top secret. It's comprised of two elements on the periodic table, hydrogen and oxygen, and you get it from a very special source, the tap.
Yeah.
Yep. Water is a really nice cleaning agent just to wipe down and get all that soot done. Don't soak it, spreads it, wipe it down, and keep from sanding all of that soot into your finished product.
Right, exactly.
But just plain old water, folks.
Well, the biggest mistake I think that newbies make is they get out the sandpaper when they take their project off the workbed. And if you just take a shop towel and wet it, and the soot wipes right off, and there's no sanding needed in most cases. Okay, Jerry, you're absolutely wrong. All right, let's see. How do you guys approach local businesses with a product? Well, that's an easy one. You approach them and you first off, I always, when I want to market something to a business, or when I used to do that, I would always go and patronize the business to begin with, and buy something, and get to know the people there, and then go back. I'll tell you a quick story about how I got started in the tumbler business, which really put a bunch of money in my pocket quick. I was launching my boat down here in Lafitte at a local boat launch, and I left my coffee on the table when I left the house. So I needed to get a cup of coffee, and I didn't want to use the paper cups. They did have some really horrible looking tumblers with some kind of weird logo on it, fishing logo on it. So $25. So I wound up buying one because it was a cold morning. I wanted to keep my coffee hot. And the next time I went back, I made one myself, and I knew the guy's name that worked behind the counter, the manager. And I made him a tumbler with my own fishing logo design on one side, the actual boat launch, the marina logo on the other side, and my name across the bottom. And I gave it to him, and I said, here's what a tumbler. If I'm going to buy a $25 tumbler, this is what I expect it to look like. And he was just, oh man, this is beautiful. Well, immediately he called the other guy and had all of his removed, and I brought in, and his were just put up on a shelf. I brought in a rack that I bought in New Orleans at a wholesale place, a turning rack, and I filled the whole thing up with my tumblers, and that's how it got started. And then a police officer bought one when he went fishing, or a sheriff's deputy, and then the sheriff's department contacted me, and then I started doing tumblers for them. And then one of the deputy sheriffs moves to the NOPD, and the NOPD contacted me, and I started doing parish work. And I mean, give it away is the answer to this question. So find out who you're dealing with, do something personalized for them, and give it away.
And another thing that I look at whenever I approach local is I look at what are they currently selling. Are they flea market, type of stuff, or are they selling the high-end name brand stuff? They're selling custom cutting boards for $250 and that kind of stuff. And those are the ones I don't want to do the flea market pricing. I go after the higher end novelty shops, and then I do what used to give it away. Well, if I don't already have a really good working relationship with them, and I'll take in 5 or 6 things and say, you know what, let's just put these on consignment. You don't invest a dime in them. Let's just put them in here and see if you get any traction with them.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
and then inevitably, boom, they do, and they're like, hey, listen, I sold out of those. I need more. So put out a good product, market it for what its value is, and market it high. Don't undersell yourself, and in the right place. You're setting up in the flea market and trying to get $100 out of something that the guy down the road is $5 for something that he got out of China. It ain't gonna happen. So
Right. Exactly.
real estate or location.
Yep. Okay, Matt says my tour rotary will not respond to any adjustments. I've watched the videos, but no luck. Any ideas? If it's not responding and you have it turned on, then you're probably going to have some type of pinout problem. The only thing that I can suggest that you do is you test the pins with a meter to make sure it's all right. I mean, if the pinout is moving if the wire is moving the y-axis, then it should absolutely be moving the rotary. If you're not getting any response, then you have a problem somewhere between where the wire runs from the y-axis plug to where the rotary is. That's the only answer I can think to that. Exactly. Good suggestion there. So Jerry says, take them free samples, show them pictures, leave your card, all good advice. And you pick 5 guys over Whataburger. That's what I say. Okay. I even use Lightburn for auto tracing for 3. Yeah, absolutely. Lightburn is a great design program. There's no question about that. Hello there from Switzerland. All right, Lightburn is awesome. Also, a lot of people don't know the renew cost is half the cost of the initial purchase. Yes, absolutely. And a lot of people also don't know that you don't ever have to renew. It's a one-time purchase. So that's completely up to you. I could still be using version 9 without ever having to pay anything else. I mean, there's lots of new and better features in the new versions, but you don't have to upgrade. It took about 2 weeks to get pretty good. Yeah, it doesn't take long. I found the Xtool software totally confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any proprietary software, they handicap you so bad it's ridiculous.
Yep. So I'm trying to catch up on these comments here. I'm sorry if I'm skipping some. Like Steve said earlier, come back after the stream if we missed you and ask your comment in the comment section. I'm not a beginner, but I procrastinated because I feel like it ought to be a big learning curve. It really is not a big learning curve. It's sort of like I think that it's akin to a word processor almost, except some of the features are primitive shapes.
And don't be intimidated.
Okay, let's see. I used XCS because it was free when I first got my laser a couple of months ago. Then I got my Lightburn free trial. It's amazing, life-changing. That's absolutely true. There's no question about that. You're talking apples to oranges between the two different programs. And I would expect that the software, if they're teaching the wrong way to use the laser, I would expect that they wouldn't have quality software that came with it either. CDR files may be the question. Use Inkscape. I don't use Inkscape at all, ever.
All right. Well, Jack in the shop mentioned that we used to, and Jack in the shop is right around the corner from me, and he says we used to have a Whataburger here in town. I don't remember it, Jack, But the fact that we had one and this redneck place couldn't keep it up, it apparently wasn't that good.
Okay, so Nikita says she has a month-old 80-watt ohm tech and did a test cut. It worked great. Cut 6 millimeter, 40 power, 10 millimeters per second, but now having trouble cutting it at 5 millimeters, 80 power. Any ideas? First off, I don't think I would use 80 power. You need to check your milliamps. Make sure that you're not on the 80 watt. You shouldn't be going over 21 milliamps. So make sure that you stay under that, number one, to begin with. Number two, on any CO2 machine that you get, you have a month-old one, the chances are that one of two things is happening. Either your mirrors are out of alignment. You're going to need to do a mirror alignment, or perhaps your laser head is not perfectly vertical and square to the gantry. So that's two things that it could be. And those are two things that you have to do on any new CO2 laser engraver that you get. Light burn is the bee's knees. Haven't heard that term in a while. Don't waste your time on others. I absolutely agree. No question about it. Jason says, I think they mean if the object is too close or the laser is using a rotary tool. Okay. I forgot what that question was from earlier. You're amazing. I just got my P20 Plus. Thanks for all, everybody that contacts me about the Acer P20 has nothing but praise to say about it. So if anybody's in the market for a new one, go ahead and spring for the Acer. It's a great machine. Thank you for that. Yeah, like and smash that that button. Show your support for the channel. I appreciate that. Yeah, please, everybody, subscribe, like, click the bell notifications. Like I said earlier, I don't do this in my videos on my channel, but it's important to this channel that we get as much watch time as possible, as many likes. We need to get into the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, and get the channel pushed out so that we can grow and bring you a lot more content. The more we grow and the bigger we grow, the more content we'll be bringing. I have a truce with an easy rash and afraid to make it angry or jealous. Okay. Okay. So that's Patrick answering something. Easy crash. Yeah, you can say that again. All right. Besides Amazon, where do you guys get materials from? Things like wood, cutting boards, tumblers, etc. Oh, gee, I've got so many places that I get them from. Mine range from everywhere from a local cabinet shop to a local lumber yard to Amazon to online wood sales. What's the name of that weird one, Patrick? The
Ocho. Yeah, Ocho.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many places. I know Steve goes to a local lumber yard. Cabinet makers, cabinet makers have lots of cutoffs. Yeah, you're not going to believe it, but they have lots of cutoffs. I even found about 2 years ago a door manufacturer right down the road from here. And they have a lot of the doors have, I never realized the doors are styrofoam and they just have a veneer on them that's like 1/4 of an inch thick. And they have tons of cutoffs from these doors, in all types of exotic woods that, I just stopped in there. I said, can I pick through your garbage pail? And they were like, yeah, knock yourself out. I mean, tons and tons of wood. There, if you just look around, I even used to stop at job sites with new construction where homes were under construction. In fact, in the shop next door, I have probably 200 or 300 board feet of oak flooring that, I used to make coffee signs for an Amazon store, that were huge sellers. So, I mean, there's all kinds. I don't know where you guys get yours from, but you can, if you want to add in something there.
Nah, you covered it pretty much, and there are some hardwoods are the biggest thing. Like you mentioned, how'd you say it, Patrick? Oak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Okucha hardwoods.
Yeah, and that's what I've been playing with, and because I've found myself trying to do these inlays, and when you're working with the thinner plywoods, the veneers are an issue when it comes to sanding. So true hardwoods are a lot.
So let me. I'm looking at my shortcuts right now. It's OCOOCH hardwoods.
Yeah.
That's one that I use. I don't do too much buying online, but a lot of I get all of my awards from gs2awards.com. Let's see, clock parts. Oh, clockparts.com. So if you're going to make a clock, make one that adjusts itself to daylight savings time. You can get that at clockparts.com. And I really like it. It's a couple dollars more, but it adjusts itself. They also have the ones that are the atomic clocks, and about the same price as you pay on Amazon. The coasters I used to buy the holders from coasterholders.com. I get a lot of supplies at dhgate.com. Globalsources.com is another good website. ec21.com. jpplus.com is a big supplier for me. Wholesalecuttingboards.com. rticcoutdoors.com. Michael's and webstaurantstore.com are just some of. I have about 100 of these in here, but I get my supplies from and that's for all different supplies. Those lists right there. So you can, once the video is published, you can come back to this point right here at wherever we're at. And
222.
where are we at right now?
222.
So you can come back to 222 and replay with that list that I just gave there, and go take a look at some of those websites. I'd love more videos where you actually go through the steps to make the graphics in Lightburn. I'm anti-copy and paste from Google or using any other people's libraries. Thanks for the great channels. Okay, well, most of my videos have all of the basics of making your own graphics together. So you look on my channel for design graphics like a pro, and I think Lightburn 201, and I have several videos where I talk about actually design from start to finish. And even if it's not where you're using other things as a guide, I've always found that nobody has any original ideas. Everything is inspired by something else. So with most of the I don't copy, paste, and use anything off of Google. I'll copy and paste it and design my own based on that. So
and what I'll do, like for the projects, especially projects I'm going to be creating for Laser Maker, is I'll find something on Etsy or on Google that's popular, high in demand, and then reverse engineer it in Lightburn, creating it from scratch. But those videos will be on my channel, not on the Laser Maker's realm. Right,
exactly. Okay, Jim says, what's your opinion of the infrared laser on the D1 Pro? I think it's a gimmick. I did a whole video on that. If you want to go on my channel and watch that video, it's a gimmick. I'm sub to the hobby guy. Can somebody post the other two panelist channels? Patrick, can you put those up?
Sure can. See, there's mine.
Thank you, Jim. We're gonna run all the channels. We don't have to run mine, Patrick, because this is being broadcast on my channel. But switch back and forth between the two, because we're coming down to the end of the stream now. It's 11:24, and save this chat. I don't know how to save this chat. Thank you so much, Matthew. That's at 11 o'clock. I'm 24 minutes behind here. We appreciate that donation. And listen, guys, once we do get monetized, if you like what we're doing, donate $1 or $2. It's got to be worth a $1 or $2 to you. We spend hours and hours putting these videos together for you. Millions of dollar contracts are sitting on because electronic short. Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's going back to my point about the sourcing from overseas. Lightburn can do it, but they deliberately have chosen not to because they don't want to condone people walking away from a CO2 or diode laser. I'm not sure what that was.
That was in reference to an end sound whenever a job finishes. It's available on the Galvo version, but
yeah.
diode and CO2.
Yeah, the little ding at the end, like in laser Gerbil. Yeah. Can't wait for the next one, you guys. Okay, great. Yep. Thank you, Patrick. The next one will be in 2 weeks. And we'll have some new videos out, before then. Not sure, Bob. There is, I must have missed it. I don't know. I'm behind on these comments. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, that was in reference to the end sound.
Oh, okay. Adreno thermostat. Yep. Perfect setup. I hit enter too soon. Is there for Galvos? They will not add one for gantry because that leaves it open. Yeah, no, they don't have one at all. Yeah, I know, Jerry. I can't keep up. So thank you, Jeffrey. I'm gonna have to rush through some of these because we're getting close to the end here now. Andy, thank you so much. I appreciate that. If any of y'all want to donate to the channel to help us get started, we'd appreciate it. Even $1 or $2. Every little bit is going to help. Watch hours. Yes, forget about it. No, we need that 4,000 watch hours to get super chats. So we can't do that without the 4,000 watch hours. I just purchased an X-Tool D1 Pro 20 watt, trying to use a jig to engrave multiple items. I can't get the Y-axis to be consistent. And, that's one of the problems with the proprietary software is that we can't go in Lightburn and calibrate the X and the Y-axis. So, unfortunately, you're going to have to work out that problem with X-Tool and hope and pray that they'll answer you.
One thing that I did experience this exact problem working with my X-Tool and a jig. And the one thing that you can do to help be able to get consistent returns on that jig is changing your finish position or your return to finish position. Don't let it go to home. Don't send it to home. Set a end position of
that makes sense.
Be it 10-10 or 50-50, whatever, where it's out of your way on your jig instead of it going to, because the X-Tool doesn't have those limit switches. So when X-Tool goes back and goes to home, it hits that back rail and it bounces around. It's never starting from the same place twice. So you're not going to get the same consistency. So run the job once and then tell it to go to a fixed position, an end position, set your end spot. And then when you send that job back out every time, it's going to be consistent every time.
That makes sense. Thank you, Steve, for that. I don't know what laser you're talking about, what ohm tech and what mom port, so I can't really answer that. Has anyone discussed the infrared module? Yeah, I think it's a gimmicky product that's completely up to you. I mean, it's a 1064 laser that has no power and no frequency control, so it doesn't fit into any category except gimmick as far as I'm concerned. All right, let me try and catch up to the time here a little bit. Sorry, guys. Great, wonderful. We hope you all tune in 2 weeks. There'll be a lot more questions. We're right at 11:30, so we're going to be hitting the end of the stream now. And I think that's pretty much all we're going to do for this live stream. I hope that everybody enjoyed it today. And like we said earlier, all you have to do is watch the replay if you like. Please come back, like the video after it's up and published, make comments, whatever questions we didn't answer, we'll answer after the live stream once the video posts. And so if you have any questions that went unanswered, just post it after the video. And I want to say thank you to everybody for making our very first live an absolute success. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for all of the donations. It's really going to help us get started. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Huge thanks.
Thank you, everyone.